Hi, I'm Jack, and I hope that wherever you are safe and well. Now, I'm a writer, and I've been asked by Mansfield Palace Theatre, and get this, to help you get started on your writing journey. Now, first thing I should say is that writing is a broad term. In my own career, it's seen me writing plays, novels, short films, and even songs. And for you, that could be extended to poetry or comic book writing, or anything that gets you writing in a creative way. Now, the aim of today is to hopefully get you started, to help you think about how to write good stories and good characters, and by the end of this, be able to create a piece for yourself. Everything that I'm going to teach you today, I've learned through experimenting, from working with other actors, writers, and directors, but also from making mistakes. That's true. You are allowed to make mistakes, and actually you're going to learn a lot from them. Now, what you'll need today for today's activities is a pen or pencil and a piece of paper, not a laptop. I always find that actually writing everything down on paper first, when I start to type it up, I find the areas where it need work, and then that helps me get to my second draft. You're also going to need a clear, free space where you can relax and be creative and not be distracted about the rest of the world. So are you ready for your first activity? Here we go. What I'd like to do is write for 5 minutes non-stop about your day. Now, obviously, if you're watching this first thing in the morning, you can write about what happened yesterday. But what's really important is that when you put pen to paper, you don't stop for 5 minutes. You don't worry about whether it's any good. You don't worry about what you're writing. You don't even worry about spelling and grammar. You just keep going. And I'm going to do the same too. So you're ready? 5 minutes non-stop on your day. Pause this video and go. Hi, welcome back. So how did you do? Did you find that you ended up with lots on the page? Did you find that actually you got to the 5 minutes and you still wanted to keep writing? And don't worry if you haven't written a lot, that's fine. The most important thing is that we got started. What that exercise should show you is that we can get started and that you can write. And I even had a go myself, like I said I would. Now, I've written a poem, and that's something that I'm not normally confident in. So if you're not feeling confident about writing at the moment, hopefully me doing something like that will help us kind of be on the same level. So are you ready? I spent my days today planning how to teach people how to write, to show them all the things that will help them get it right. But then I wonder, why is this the terrifying fear of getting something wrong that puts us off from writing our story, film, and song? I know my best stories came with little thought, and my feelings instead of the books that I've bought. I watch my son create worlds with a vivid imagination, and see him entering it fills me with fascination. He does not know where the plots will go. He doesn't really care. He just smiles and creates and finds himself anywhere. And I think back to the playground where anything was possible, before I had to think like a grown-up and think finding time to write was impossible. But my favourite days are seeing the things that I've wrote. There's been a few, and I probably shouldn't gloat. It's given me such confidence and helped me express my thoughts, and taught me that writing is important, of each and every sort. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, there's probably a lot on there that I wouldn't use, okay? The rhythm might not be there as well. And also, but there are still some lines that I really like that, and see him enter this fills me with fascination. And the things of, he doesn't know where the plots will go, he doesn't really care. That's really nice. And I think if you look at your work, there's probably a lot that you're not too sure of, but there'll be things you really enjoy. The key thing is, if I hadn't written anything, I wouldn't have got these little lines that I do like. And it's a bit like anything. You don't know you can do it until you get started. And anything that you do know, you've done from practicing, experimenting, and making mistakes. And like I said before, making mistakes is really important because it helps us to teach how and learn how to get things right. But it also gives us the confidence to know something is right. If you think about it, you, when you were born, didn't come into this world and do a 10-mile run. You eventually got yourself up, and then you started to crawl, and then you started to pull yourself up, you fell, you started to stumble a little bit, and then you walked, and then you could run. And that's the same with any skill. The key thing we have to do, though, in writing is not think too much, and also not worry about getting things wrong, especially when we're only writing our first draft. So now we're going to create a character, and this is a character that you'll be able to use for the later exercise where we create a piece of writing for yourself. But first, when we did that last activity, let me ask you a question. When we did that and you had to write for 5 minutes non-stop, how much did you think? Very little? Did you let the pen just hit the paper and off you go? Well, really, that's what our first draft needs to be like. We don't want to be questioning ourselves, and we don't want to worry about spelling and grammar. We just want the ideas to flow. And actually, having an idea of a character can help with that. So that's why we're going to create one in this exercise. So what I want you to do first is close your eyes. And I want you to imagine someone. Now, that can be someone you know really well, or it can be someone that you see around and you don't actually know, or it could even be a character from a film or a story. And I want you to really think about them. What do they look like? What do they sound like? How do they talk? How do they move? How do they run and walk? Good. Now open your eyes. Now, keeping that person in mind, I'm now going to ask you 20 questions. So you're going to need to write 1 to 20 down your page. And for each question I ask, I want you to put the answer that first comes into your head. Don't think about it. There's no right or wrong. The first thing that comes into your head. Now, you'll find on the worksheet that we have given to you that all the questions are on there, just in case you miss any. But also, you can also look back on the video, maybe rewind it, pause it, just to get to that question if you do miss it. So are you ready? Here we go. What is their name? What's their name? Number 2, how old are they? How old are they? Number 3, where are they from? Where are they from? Number 4, where are they now? Where are they now? And that's okay if it's the same answer. Number 5, do they go to work or school or college? Number 6, who is in their family? So who is the important people in their family? Number 7, what are they wearing? What are they wearing? Number 8, what is an item of clothing they don't leave the house without? What's an item of clothing that they always have with them? Number 9, what was their last social media post or diary entry? Number 9, what was their last social media post or diary entry? Number 10, what was their last meal? What was the last thing they ate? Number 11, how are they feeling? How are they feeling? Number 12, what is a word that they use too much? Okay, what is a word that they use too much? "13, what is something they've learnt during lockdown? What do they know now that they've been through lockdown?" 14, what are they good at? What are they good at? 15, what is their secret? What is their secret? 16, which celebrity or famous person annoys them? So which celebrity or famous person annoys them? 17, what is their biggest regret? What's something they really wish that they hadn't done? 18, what is something that they have missed during lockdown? And that could be a person. What is something that they have missed during lockdown? 19, what is their favourite colour? What is their favourite colour? And number 20, who do they miss right now? Who's the person they miss the most right now? How have you done? Do you find you've got lots of answers for your character? When I did the exercise, I had a gentleman called Alfred who was in his 70s. The word he used, or a couple of words he used too much, was bloomin' chickens, because he always loved to be in his allotment and the chickens were always there. And his secret was that he'd been stealing his neighbour's milk. Now, some of those answers might not seem very relevant right now, but they will become useful in that later exercise. But before we get to that, let me give you my 5 top tips in writing. So here are my 5 top tips for writing, which should hopefully help you get started. So the first thing I would say is don't be a writer. Now, I know that sounds really silly because you are going to be a writer, but what I mean by that is generally when people start, they want to be like their favourite writer. But what they forget is that the things that we read or see or hear by them are normally their final draft. What we don't think is that actually they would have gone through lots of different drafts to get to that place. They would have asked for advice, they would have made mistakes, and I know I've been there. So really go for that first draft. And actually it's all right to know that sometimes things might not work. I've got tons of folders of first drafts of plays and novels that I thought would be a great idea and they didn't work. But what I've been able to do is borrow from those stories, taking characters or dialogue or even story arcs. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I hadn't explored them. So it's very important that you do. My second bit of advice would be to write the idea that's in your head. Sometimes the idea that comes through might be the end of a story or a chorus, but it's really important you start where you feel passionate. A lot of people want to go to the very beginning because that's logical, but really that's where you could find it difficult to get started. So start with the idea that's in your head and you can always go back to the start later. Number 3 is use emotions. Okay, it's really important to think about how your character is feeling and also what you feel about the subject you are writing about. An audience really engages with a character if they can feel something for them. Number 4, make sure you know what your character wants. Okay, understanding what your character wants or what you want in exploring the subject will really help. So ask these questions. What do they want? How are they going to get it? Why do they want it now? Of all the times they could go for it, why do they want it now? And most importantly, who is going to stop them? You can also use this equation. A wants B, but C prevents it. I find that really helps, and you can see that in lots of stories. For example, Harry Potter wants to do well at Hogwarts, but Voldemort prevents it. And also you can flip that. Voldemort wants to destroy Hogwarts, but Harry Potter prevents it. And number 5, be clear, okay? Make sure that your audience really knows what you're trying to say and what is happening. And you can do that by using really dynamic language and imagery that will paint a picture in your audience's head and help them see what you are saying. Now, some of those tips might become useful in your second draft or rewrites, but the key thing is that you enjoy yourself, you don't think too much, and you don't worry about getting things wrong. So, here we are with our final activity. And this is what we want you to do to be able to create a piece of writing for yourself. And we'd like you to create a piece of writing about lockdown. Now that can be based on your own experiences, or it can be using the character that we created earlier on. And remember, if you get stuck, you can use the answers from the questions that you wrote. You can think about your character in terms of how are they going to react to lockdown? How do they feel about lockdown? What are they going to do? And likewise, you can write about yourself, and if you want to, you could use those questions and ask them about yourself. The one thing I would say is, though, that when we write about ourselves, it will bring out our own emotions and feelings. And sometimes they might not be positive. So please do ask for some help if you are upset or anything like that by what you are writing. Now, the way that you write the story is up to you. It doesn't have to be a story as such. It could be a song, a monologue, a comic book, a poem, anything that helps you explore writing in a creative way. But remember those quick tips. 1, don't overthink it. 2, don't worry about what you're writing. That's for the later drafts. 3, forget about spelling and grammar. That's for the later drafts. 4, have fun. And that's the most important thing of all. This is for you. This is you exploring your ideas. The biggest thing I would say is just go for it. It doesn't matter if we make mistakes. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect straight away. The most important thing is that you are getting your feelings and thoughts onto paper. Have fun, stay safe, and I hope you have a great time.